Welcome to Camper Awareness. We want to give you an overview or a snapshot of our campers. These are just things we want to be aware of, what kind of kids we're serving, how they maybe view the world. But most kids know that camps are safe and fun, but our kids are less likely to have experienced a camp before and less likely to have ever experienced a environment that was positive and actually designed for them. It's not unusual for our campers to be afraid and untrusting. And that's why we emphasize so many things of community, felt safety and stuff, so that these kids really can have the best experience ever. So any given year, we will see a variety of children out at camp. We'll have kids that are seemingly thriving and normal. We'll have kids that are very developmentally behind, and we are having babyish tantrums. Abuse alters the normal childhood stages, and so you'll see the full spectrum of that, all the way up to girls, especially the girls that are maybe 11 years old but act like they're 16 and are just very mature, very composed, and very capable of reasoning. Too much emphasis on things that are maybe our normals, expectations, or on the similarities of what makes everybody the same will then kind of diminish why our kids are so special, why they're unique, and why they need to be celebrated. And then also having too much emphasis on our differences can very much make people feel like they are left out, that they're singled out, or they don't really belong. So we want to make sure that we have just an awareness for these things. Our whole goal is to have that felt safety and deep sense of belonging. And to do that, we just really have to understand who we're serving. Our campers are going to have greater racial, ethnic, and cultural diversity than our volunteers, greater religious diversity and non-religious practices, more diverse and less favorable family backgrounds, more mobility, disruption of family life, and more experiences of loss, grief, and trauma at an early age. Volunteers tend to be white suburban Christians from middle-class areas, and our kids tend to be developmentally delayed kids from rural and urban areas of poverty. So there's just any cultural difference can come up that involves pattern of human behavior, such as thought patterns, routines, actions, means of communication, family traditions, family values, core beliefs, and social group norms. We have kids that are in 5 different circumstances for their home life. So they might be in foster care, so they are living with a foster family. They are in a reunification process, so they're getting returned to their bio family, or they are in a parent intervention, so they are in the process of just getting help and support for their family. The parents are learning some skills and working with social services. And then termination of parental rights would be that they are no longer going to be allowed to have their children in their home. And some of our kids are with blood relatives as well, as another common thing we see, in that they're living with a grandma. They're being raised by an aunt. So we don't know for sure unless it's on their paperwork, and we don't usually ask. We also have kids that are in the process of adoption out at camp as well. So we let our kids share what they want to share and what they want you to know about their life and about their home life. Sometimes it'll say on their paperwork that they've moved a lot in foster care, or like the new scenario they're entering in this season or something. But in general, we don't know a ton about where they're at. Campers' early life impacts their everyday life still, in that some of them had very stressful pregnancies, some of them might have experienced fetal alcohol syndrome or drug addiction, inadequate medical care, and then who knows how infancy went. So some of them probably can have malnutrition, failure to attach. These conditions contribute to a developmental delay and learning disabilities. If they've had physical abuse, they may have head injuries or chronic sleep issues from emotional trauma that have stunted their growth. It is heartbreaking to consider all these negative impacts, but our campers are unique. They are beautiful children loved by the heart of God, and we can find ways of showing them that without pitying or any unintended insult to their dignity. There isn't a person you wouldn't love if you knew their whole story. So Our campers are elementary age kids, so they should be able to read, write, handle a routine like they've learned at school, and they should be able to self-manage. You should be able to get dressed and take care of themselves. They should be able to work through disputes, be able to eat, work, play, and work independently. Their age group should love to learn and be excited for activities. They should be easily delighted and like to make fun, messy things. They are able to reason, and they should be getting good at controlling their impulses. They're growing in their awareness of others and are getting better at discerning just what others are thinking and feeling. Our campers, though, are not average elementary kids, and so they are probably the ones that are struggling in school. They are the ones that see the school counselor or other services for behaviors or delayed social skills or academics. They know the principal's office or the school resource officer. They have perhaps trouble reading and have experienced their peers teasing because they don't seem to be at the same level. They may not have boundaries or rules at home, and so they do whatever they want, or they freak out to get whatever they want. They don't have good eating habits or regular bedtimes or good hygiene, so they're kind of always physically deficient. They're always at a deficit from the minute they start, and then they're expected to cope when their body is not in a good spot. Many are given whatever they want so that they're not a burden or a bother to adults, so they might spend a lot of time on devices just to stay out of people's hair. These kids probably have a fight, flight, fawn, or freeze response to adverse scenarios. They are used to looking for danger and responding by survival instincts 24/7. Our kids are probably behind in school, and they feel that or know they can't keep up. If this camp is like school, then probably not going to fit in here, and I'm going to have to hide my lacks from you. Maybe they don't have the right clothes or good hygiene, and they're aware they look unacceptable to others. Our kids are the ones who can't find a friend to sit by in the cafeteria. A lot of at-risk kids that I have seen over the years, they've all seen the horror movies, so they have a lot of access to media. They have a lot of access to movies that most kids would not, and so our kids tend to be very aware of the creepy and the paranormal. Some have watched porn by that age already, and some have seen a lot of just adult content that they should not be seeing. Some will be defensive or get triggered easily if they feel scared, ashamed, or threatened because they've messed up. This is the kid we have climbing off the bus on Monday morning, looking at you and wondering if you're like everyone else in their world, or if you see the real them that they've been hiding. So resiliency is the ability to bounce back from adverse experiences and trauma, and every child is born with some resiliencies, and research studies have identified the attributes that can increase it. The structure and the volunteers within the camp environment help build these attributes. The studies, there are 3 different studies here, and I'm going to just read to you the common things they have going. That 3 distinguishing factors for people who overcome adversities: that they have personal attributes or qualities that drew positive responses from those they came in contact with, personal contact and affectional ties with family members, an external support system that recognized and rewarded them. The second study found that social competence included the ability to seek help, elicit positive responses from adults and other children, to problem solve, and build confidence in one's ability to plan, autonomy in the ability to act independently, a sense of purpose, and belief in the future. And then the third one found that child qualities such as proactive problem solving, purposeful planning, and self-esteem. Buffers or people and community programs are important resources for children. The ability to reframe negative experiences in a constructive way, and turning points or specific events that children can use to their advantage to turn their lives in a more positive direction. So basically, all of those things are either community, relational, or support-based, and we can do a lot of that out at camp, even in just 5 days, especially being that specific event that children can use to their advantage to turn their lives to a more positive direction. Hopefully that is our way. The camp structure developed over years from godly wisdom and experts in different fields, and learning from mistakes has only proven that the organization can look back and see what God launched in the hearts of RFK founders. Safe believers now line up with research confirming the way we serve children. It shows that we all need a good environment that is for us, trustworthy people to walk alongside us, and a message of hope for our future. All right. So last few things to know about some of our kids is going to be, yes, we're going to have those immature, developmentally delayed kids that take a little bit longer to do things that maybe don't even know basics, like taking a shower and tying your shoes. They might need just a way slower pace, much longer transitions, more warnings of how long it's going to take us to get somewhere, do something. They may need a lot more verbal guidance and help with just basic tasks because they are just little. They may be very goofy and silly and clingy and cuddly in ways that are just maybe not normal for their age group, and much more toddler-like at times. But just working with those kids to develop skills, even when they're working with us out at camp, to develop that brain, even as we're just doing regular things. We will have sibling groups. We will have our very mature kids. We will have our very mature kids out at camp, and those are the ones where they just need a chance to have a camp childhood experience. So even though they're acting very mature, they're acting very capable, they don't seem to be having any problem, and they might even say that camp is boring or they're too cool for this. We want to make sure that they still have a wonderful moment and opportunity to have camp fun. So working on whatever we can to make their experience amazing and life-giving. And then we'll have sibling groups. So when we have a bunch of kids out there, there might be siblings between girl cabins or even across to boys and girls cabins. And then when they're girls, they sometimes want to stay in the same cabin together. Boys as well. We've had brothers that want to be in the same cabin. We will try to keep that separate because not all of our campers actually live in the same foster family. Some of them are split up, and so camp is a time for them to be together, but their relationships are not always positive. So we want to make sure they're getting a lot of that individual attention from their counselor so they don't feel like they're looking, fighting for attention. Make sure that they feel that they're seen and they have their space, and that when they are interacting together, it is positive. I will always start by having siblings split up into separate cabins so that they can have their own experience, create their own bond with their friends and counselor. And it does help if the siblings fight, even if they do get along. Siblings fight, man. And it'll just give them a chance to be themselves. So we have had, I think, at least up to 3, a sibling set of 3 out there. But I think that's the largest group we've had of siblings out at camp. All right. A lot of our kids have had loss and disruption. They have moved a lot. They've experienced people in their world already passing away at a young age. We've had kids that their paperwork will say something like they've moved 7 times in 7 years because they're 7 years old, that they've moved 3 times in this year alone. We had a girl that her first year with us, she was living with her grandmother, and then the next year she was in foster care because her grandmother passed away. The next year she was in the process of being adopted, and last year was her last year, and she had just found out that her adopted father had stage 4 cancer. So a lot of loss, a lot of transition, a lot of big things for someone who was at the time only 8, 9, 10, 11. So be sensitive to these kids and just know that they have grief and they need time with that. They need process and they need a safe space for that. And it's not like we're going to be a grief counselor. We're just going to listen. We're just going to allow them that and allow them their feelings on it, because this is one of those things where you can have the loss, but then you can also have the secondary trauma of having no one to talk about it to. And sometimes you just need to be able to say, I miss my grandma, and Anger and anxiety, or even being super needy and clingy to you may be a sign these kids have had grief or things that have always just seemed to leave them. We want to just make sure that we are appropriate in those interactions, but like we're giving the hugs and we're giving the high fives, we're giving the arm around the shoulder, we're holding hands when we can. We're just being there for these guys when they are showing you their loss and grief. Our campers tend to be on medications, but not all of them. I would say it's half and half. And so you'll have some that are just on allergy meds, or some that are on higher doses of things. So we will have nurses there to do drug administration. It changes year to year, but you'll always have the possibility that you're going to make sure your kid's getting meds for ADHD, the antipsychotics, all the different things. You could have one kid on a list of very long meds, and then your other camper will have no meds. So it just depends on your camper. It can be easy to slip into judgment and decide what a kid needs to be healed. But we're seeing a 4.5 day reality with these kids, and we might be seeing their oasis experience and not their stressed self in their real reality. So we want to make sure that all this camper information is just information to process and to help you understand where this kid might be coming from, so that you have the right empathy and compassion. We want to let this build us so that when we encounter these kids, we are not off guard by something they might say, something they might experience, something they might do. We're ready to just love on them. So regardless of your background and the camper's backgrounds, you giving them the gift of yourself this week is the most priceless, precious present they've ever received. Your willingness to be uncertain and to serve whatever child I throw at you is a glimpse of Matthew 25:34-35 in the Shana translation. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hangry, and you gave me a snack. I was thirsty, and you gave me my water bottle. I was a stranger, and you invited me into belonging. I needed my basic needs met, and you supplied them all for me. I was sick with worry, and you looked after me. I built up walls, and you still came to visit me." Verse 40, it ends with, "The king will reply, 'Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these tiny brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" So we get to witness the miracle of these kids on vacation, their oasis moment of just getting to be themselves and experience safety and freedom and nature while feeling God's presence with you. So we know seeds are going to be planted for their future, and we're just very, very excited for our campers to come out for 2026.